We have Mark Kaplan, principal of BD Labs. We have David Uy, co-founder and CEO of BLMP Networks. And we have Corinne Yap, senior vice president, global business of Mixed Dimensions. So, guys, we've been hearing a lot about big data. Big data is the new oil. Everyone wants to collect it, to analyze it, to figure out what they can do with that data to leverage their business. Could you tell me a bit about your clients and your own experience, how you guys do that and what you use the data for? Mark, do you want to start it off?
Sure. Yeah. My company works with a number of different mobile companies, mobile developers and publishers, and I imagine most everybody here has a phone in their pocket or two, right? The challenge is how do these companies, when they develop a product, get to know their consumers? So the idea behind this is the phone is listening. The phone is knowing your keystrokes. It's a little scary, but at the end of the day, the companies need to collect that data, whether it's metadata or actual real data, and they need to utilize that to know their customer better. So I'd say, in my business with games, it's a very big part of a growing trend that they want to attract the consumer and keep them coming back to play more.
Right. Corinne, do you want to speak about personalization and data and how you guys use it?
Sure, we do the good old-fashioned focus group testing and polls online and ask the audience, the potential audience, the people that we're targeting, what they're most interested in. And so one company that I work with recently, they're a pricing platform, and so they were trying to figure out how many people would be interested in earning prizes, and how does that increase their engagement with the brand. And it was like 4 times as many people are like, I'd rather win a prize than watch an ad, which kind of makes sense. But it's all about engagement and personalization and having something that nobody else has. So if you play a game and you win a prize, you're more likely to be showing pictures of you with that Rockstar Energy drink or that IDW digital comic that you won, because it's something that you won, something you did that no one else did.
Right, and interesting data shows that if you're born after 1981, you actually volunteer that data. You don't really care about privacy anymore. If I give away my data and they know what I like or what shoes I'm looking for right now and it pops up, it de-stresses my life. So in addition to that data and people giving out their privacy, we also are talking a lot about virtual goods, and maybe David wants to address that. How do you use the data, and what virtual goods people will want to buy in the future?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So virtual goods are considered things like in-game items or in-platform items. Those are the ways that most companies generate revenue nowadays. It used to transition from people buying discs for games, and now everything is free. So consumers want a free product, and then the way companies make money now is by selling in-game items. And I think a beautiful thing about using blockchain technology, which is what we do, is that it creates an openness to the data. So right now, a lot of the data exists in little closed-off silos. So if you look at the web, it's really been amazing technology. It's made things a lot more efficient, but it's created an asymmetrical formation. There's been more wealth creation, but the social economics is not in proportion to that. So blockchain technology, basically, it opens up these closed-off data silos where everybody can now share and use that information more effectively. And what that means is for things like virtual goods and branded virtual goods, which is what we do, we're introducing a new segment of virtual goods. What that does is it allows brands, licensors, to make better agile decisions based upon actually having access to this shared data versus it just existing, with their partner.
Right, I agree. Mark, do you want to tell us a bit about your company and interesting clients you're working with?
Yeah, sure. I've spent the last over 20 years in the licensing business. Traditional licensing, I was with Sony and Fox over the years, and I did various different categories of licensing. But one of the areas I became quite familiar with back in '95, I should say, was the interactive category in gaming. And I've seen it come from the 16-bit stage to now with the AR and VR. And one of the things that I've been able to kind of corral is taking IPs and putting them into these new forms of delivery. And so my company is a business development firm that helps companies connect content with companies that make games, companies that make AR, a distribution channel, if you will, and it's not just licensing, but it's more developing strategy. We're working with a number of big companies here, and we're helping them with their strategies, and we're doing that on a daily basis. So it's really a kind of, like I said, went from working in apparel, the toys, everything. Now it's just really about digital and interactive, and that's where the growth is. So a lot of these companies are really trying to figure out how do they take their IP and get it back into the consumer's hands via this device, and that's really what we're focusing on.
Right, that's awesome. And talking about AR, VR, and AA, blockchain, we've been hearing these buzzwords for quite a while now, and I feel like, this was supposed to happen already, and it's not happening, and why don't I have a hologram in my room, and why can't I, why hasn't it happened yet? So what technologies do you guys think that will kick into effect, or you're already seeing happening right now, and what technologies do you see affecting licensing down the road? Corinne, do you want to take that one?
Sure. So, like Mark, I know a lot about interactive. I started in it in 1999, so I'm slightly younger. So as he mentioned, you've seen it grow from different from 8-bit all the way through to where it is now. But really, what we're doing, what I'm working with, the company I'm working with now is called Mixed Dimensions, and we're trying to figure out a way to have people engage more in their products, engage more in the games. And so we have a technology, it's a 3D technology where you can capture whatever cool thing that you're doing in the game from just one person or your customized ship in Star Trek Online to an entire battle scene, and then you can order your own personalized collectible figure. So it's not only what you've customized within the game, but your game experience. So for us, moving the whole industry forward is even more about personalization and customization, and having the customer having the power to make the decisions on what they want. They don't just go on Amazon and buy whatever figure is offered for them. They go and make their own and do something special.
Corinne, what's the timeline on that? If I captured my moment and I'm so excited and I want to get it and put it on my shelf, how long would it take till I get
So we started with printing in resin and hand painting, which are absolutely gorgeous. They take 4 to 6 weeks to produce, and so that takes a little bit longer, but we actually started printing in full color. There's a new technology, a new printer that we can print in full color in resin, which is much better than what you've been able to do in the past, and that takes about 1 to 3 weeks to get it from ordering to your door.
Score.
Yeah.
And then, David, can you tie this back into licensing and how blockchain would affect our business?
Well, that's a very good question. No, I really feel like blockchain is going to have a huge impact and be a big game changer for licensing. You basically get transparency and traceability with transactions, and what that means is a lot of important topics like revenue sharing and royalty splits, etc. A lot of focus is on trust and how do you know that you're going to get paid exactly what you agreed upon. And with blockchain technology, that solves that problem. So basically, using blockchain technology, when you have the pre-agreed upon splits, using blockchain technology, you get exactly what you agreed on.
So I'll give you a good example. We're actually working together, and in my previous role at Sony, I had done a lot of virtual good licensing within multiple mobile games. The challenge was to track all those individual purchases. It was a very, very challenging thing. Usually you get a royalty report, it spells out how much money you've made, but it doesn't dig into the actual amount of transactions. So imagine you're selling a t-shirt at Walmart, and that t-shirt company gives you a royalty report. You kind of know where the transaction took place and where the money's coming from. And I always told David when we first met, I go, wow, if I had you 3 or 4 years ago, this whole virtual good economy that we created on our own would have been much more tactile and easy, and it would have taken a lot of strain off the whole process of collecting royalties, which, when you look at licensing as a whole, it's not just about doing the deal. There's a whole downstream process that happens, and chasing the money or collecting the money. I would have said we would have been, much more strategic about it and done more had we been able to use the blockchain technology.
Right. That and counterfeiting, of course, right?
Yeah, and counterfeiting as well. And that's where you guys in the blockchain can tag an individual item, make sure it's real and it's not fake.
Right. Yeah. And talking about real and fake, so this translates to real money for the actual brands?
Oh yes, I mean people buy virtual goods the same way they buy real goods in real life, and it's proven that people spend money, where they spend their time. And nowadays, even marketing strategies for most companies is 40% of their budget at least is spent online. People spend more than 20% of their day on these digital platforms, whether it's social media or other websites, etc. So I mean, people, like I said, they want to consume these services for free, but then if they're engaged, they don't mind spending a little money to enhance their actual experience.
Right. Not only is it a little money, but it's almost painless, right? It's a tick of a button. My kids order stuff off Amazon and they say, that doesn't cost money, mommy. I just pressed a button.
Well,
right?
yeah, if you go to China and you use WeChat, you're buying everything via your phone, and there has to be a transaction loop that comes back to the bank or to the blockchain. And I think many countries are very quickly moving into that area, using their devices.
And
cash may not be used in 10 years.
Exactly, and I'm happy you addressed that. So let's talk about the generational shift. People are spending more and more time on their phone, and if I spend more time on my phone, I'm more prone to buy things that I'm interacted with and I'm emotionally invested in and I'm doing all day. We're also seeing a lot of quest for personalization. Corinne, are the younger generations, do they really want to create their own, to capture their moment, but also do something that they were involved in the process?
Yes. So from our understanding and from what we've kind of learned over the course of launching our product, it's really about, again, being able to be personally engaged in what you're doing, and because you're on your phone all day or because you're playing these games for hours at a time, you are completely invested in the experience that you're having and the characters you're either creating or interacting with. And so being able to determine how you view that character as that memorialized version on your desk is something that is very interesting. But then at the same time, it's not just younger kids that are interacting with their phone all day. When we did the survey with the pricing platform company, 60% of the women that responded said that they had played games within the past 24 hours. And so this is something where, it's a part of entertainment that I think maybe is a little bit of a stress relief or kind of a time waster kind of thing. But a lot of people are really engaging in these digital experiences.
That's great. David, can you add to that?
Oh yeah, going back to extending upon that, I mean, it's the same reasons why someone nowadays will spend a lot of money to buy a yellow Lamborghini. People in the virtual world, I mean, they're buying things for status, membership, differentiation, and because they spend a lot of time in these virtual worlds, maybe 8-10 hours a day, just like in real life, what meaning is there to buy a yellow Lamborghini? Well, it's just that personal happiness that they get for buying that item, and people are spending that money now in virtual goods more so than real life material stuff.
Right. Let's talk about brands. I can't wait to sit in my living room and kick back and relax and ask Alexa or my virtual assistant to order me AAA batteries. How do you think we'll be able to narrow down all the information we get and all the options? And where do you see Google and Amazon kick in with their own brands? Do you want to take that one?
Yeah, that's a good one because I have Alexa and I have Google. I use both because being in technology, you want to know what's happening. But I find myself, to be honest, still going back to my phone right now and finding and looking.
I hear you.
I think the information age that they're collecting information and they want us to go do it voice. I think we're still a little earlier where everyone's going to say, hey, Alexa, order me, and maybe you do, but I haven't really yet, to be quite honest. I do still like looking at the product, and I think I look back to the days when you'd walk through, unfortunately, Toys R Us is gone, but you walk through Toys R Us and you pick up a toy and you look at it and you really know it. Those days are gone, so I think we got to figure out a way that the consumer can get really close to the product and know what they want, and I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge.
Right. I think so. But voice shopping is something that will happen and will make our life easier. It all depends on how the brands kick in and are able to leverage and sponsor those options that we get. Corinne, what do you think? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid?
Yes, of course. I always drink any Kool-Aid that is given to me. But
on Thursday in Vegas.
I tend to be, a late adopter. and as everybody's cutting cords, and I'm adding more cords. So I think, overall, you do see it. So you do recognize that Amazon has, Amazon Prime, and they have their own original content, and Hulu's doing their own original content, and so is Netflix. And so you envision that these companies will eventually get there and eventually have everything. There's, Target has their own brand. Everybody, all the big retailers have their own brand. So you envision that it will happen. It's just a matter of time.
Right. And I do think, the word on the street is that why wouldn't Amazon have their own brand? And why wouldn't I get only 3 options when I ask to buy something? One of them would be Amazon, one would be some kind of sponsored band, almost a pay-to-play, and the third would be whoever ranks. David, do you see that playing out that way?
Well, I don't have a big history in terms of brands, but as a consumer point of view, I do feel like consumers are now a lot smarter. It is the information age, and I feel like people actively choose to vote, I guess, with their dollars. So there are companies now that are more geared towards social good or environmentally friendly, and they can charge more, and people are willing to pay the price. So I feel like a big brand, let's say like a Google or Amazon, even entering, I don't think it would have that much of an impact, because people still want that choice and that variety. And that's just what I think, the way people are growing up nowadays.
I agree. So we have some time for questions. Does anyone have questions for our panelists? Yes, please.
Yeah, how are you going to get people to actually use and understand the whole blockchain part?
Yes, I need to know the answer to that too.
There's people actually using it in real life.
Okay, that's a great question. So I guess that's to me.
Repeat the question.
The question was, how are we going to get adoption, basically mainstream adoption, and
For blockchain.
For blockchain, and that's a really good question. And anybody that's familiar with the blockchain community, that has been one of the biggest hurdles. That's why most blockchain projects are focused on infrastructure, because they want to grease adoption, make it easier for people to understand and use. Now, what makes our company a little bit different is we're a B2B company, so we're focused on intellectual property brands and digital platforms. And what happens is we have an integrated solution with a wallet. So a wallet is one of the biggest hurdles of adoption. And how do you get someone to learn how to use a wallet? It's horrible. I'm a tech guy, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, it's brutal, even for a seasoned tech person. But our solution, we have a proprietary wallet incorporated in our solution, where basically you can sign up and start using our services with just a simple email and password, and it's 100% secure. That will hopefully make adoption a lot easier. And as businesses benefit, the digital platforms that we cater to benefit by offering this new set of items. They open up their customer base. Right now, the biggest applications on blockchain would only have users in the count of around maybe 50,000, and maybe you've heard of this game, it's called CryptoKitties. It's around that 50,000. 50,000 in a video game world, as Mark will tell you, is tiny. So mainstream adoption, when we onboard small publishers, essentially we automatically become the biggest channel of adoption for blockchain that's out there right now. So that's kind of our strategy for adoption.
David, would you guys tackle different currencies within the wallet? If I go to China, can I buy something there? Can I buy something here? Or will it just be whatever cryptocurrency would
So
exist?
that's a very interesting question. Yeah, so currency, and I think crypto token technology as a whole, it may have a bad rap, but at the same time, there's extreme value in having crypto token technology and the ability to transfer more value on a transactional basis. Instead of just a regular transaction being a record of data transferring, but you can actually do things and perform logic, run code, and also use these tokens to buy things, and has meaning for other people. Really changes the dynamics of any kind of technology that we've found to date. Are tokens and crypto token technology and things like that going away? I don't think so. I think it's here to stay. In no way do I even feel remotely like it's going to go away, whether it's Bitcoin or something else. People are now starting to realize that they can transact a lot simpler. Really, if you look at, this has all been predicted a very long time ago. I can give someone $20 and send money very easily, but right now, in the state of the world, how hard is it for me to send money across the country or to a different country? It's very, very difficult. And this kind of new technology and having tokens and currencies around, it's just the infancy. And I think 10 years from now, we'll be laughing and thinking that, it was funny that we thought it wouldn't take off, right? So.
I agree that it's about ease of use and understanding what it is, and then ease of use. So before I started working with this company, I worked with PlayStation, and we worked on the game streaming at PlayStation Now. And our number one challenge was to make the non-console player understand what was available to them, and then also the ease of use of understanding all I have to do is hook a controller to my TV, and then I can play without having a console. And so it's something that they still are facing, that challenge still exists. But eventually when it gets to that point where people can understand how easy it is and how it's accessible to you and it's a good solution for people that don't own a console, then you'll break through and have a huge audience, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, please. Wait, oh, come on.
Okay, thanks for great sharing. As two sides of a coin, what kind of disadvantage or risk do you see the new technologies bring to licensing? And of course, difficult to say what's the mitigation solutions or the tips, but just do you have any idea in your mind? Thank you.
Who wants to take it?
The risk taken for brands. So, most of these companies that are emerging from these new technologies are startups, and they're kind of figuring it out at the same time that the industry is figuring it out. So there is, an inherent risk of, jumping on board and being an early adopter with a brand, but there also can be a very big benefit if you are part of a platform or a killer app that actually can break through. It can be tremendously successful. So imagine, Pokemon Go and Niantic. Niantic had tried a technology or a game before they launched Pokemon Go, but they kind of, with, the Pokemon company took that risk, was working with them, and kind of figured out, they were on the leading edge of some technology, and they were able to kind of take advantage of what happened with a startup that didn't necessarily have a good success story in the back pocket. So there's definitely a risk, but sometimes it's a risk worth taking.
Yeah, and I work with a couple of startups that are using AR technology, and they have kind of virtual buddies that basically you're looking at your phone through AR and you have a character. And we went around to a lot of the different licensors and said, hey, we would love to work with you on your IP, but what boils down to is how do you generate revenue? And I think the new technologies and defining where the revenue model is as ex-licensor, basically we're here to make money. Or help to develop our brand. So where does the royalty stream come in based upon this new technology? And until there's a business model in place for the new technology, I think it's very challenging. But I've been fortunate enough to see some really, really amazing technologies, and now we're trying to figure out how do we attach the two together. Much like what David's trying to do with blockchain, we had the same. We had meetings today, yesterday with some licensors. It's like, well, how do we really make money on this? I know you're going to streamline the process, but where is the revenue going to come in? How is it going to manifest itself over time? And Does that answer your question? Or okay.
Any questions? Anyone else? No? We're good? Awesome. Thank you so much for everyone. Enjoy the rest of your day. It's not over till it's over.
Oh.